Good morning and welcome to English. This is Morten, and I have today the pleasure of talking to my good friend Stephan Reiter from OneVision in Germany. So, good morning, Stephan.
Good morning, Morten. It's the same pleasure for me, I can tell you.
It's funny because I remember the first time we met each other, that was in Sweden at one of these GrafCom
Yes. Yeah.
events. And I remember that we had a great time. And at that point, I didn't know OneVision so well. And you explained to me all the great things that also is OneVision. And then at the Humble Innovation Day, said to one of your colleagues that something that was entirely wrong, because basically the narrative of OneVision is way broader than just for the newspaper industry and things like that. So maybe you should bring me up to speed and tell me a little bit, and also our audience, what is OneVision?
Yeah, pleasure for me. So it's not bad that you mentioned newspaper, and I will come back to that in a minute. So OneVision originally was known, I think 30 years ago, as the digital washing machine. So that explains our roots. Our roots have really been in PDF and prepress, or at that point of time, I have to be precise, in PostScript in beginning 30 years ago, and then later on into PDF and prepress. And the first market that really adapted that was the newspaper market. The newspaper market, of course, I'm not talking any news now about that, is declining. It is not our main focus, but it learned us a lot of lessons. And these lessons still are with OneVision. And these lessons are taking responsibility, making sure that the customer can work it every time. No excuse at any point, at any second, at any minute that something fails. So you have to make him safe for production. So that we took, I think we started the journey 15, 20 years ago, going more into digital printing. At the beginning, we focused on the commercial printing market. Then we went into label automation, into wide format automation. And now saying automation, we are already there. What I want to talk about is that, yes, pre-press is fundamental because 80% of all workflow automation today fails because of problems in pre-press. So it's fundamental that you understand the basics of pre-press. But integration, automation, of course, the last 10 years went ballistic, and we brought a lot of new features and will bring out a lot of new features and modules to cover that whole market.
Before you continue, Stephan, I was just a little bit curious because, I mean, with all due respect, it's like when people that works in a company talk about a product that they have. I mean, I know that you have a big passion for your company and for the products you sell, but I was just wondering, because when you say pre-press and you say automation, thing like that, what is it exactly that OneVision offers? Because as I understood, and maybe I'm wrong because it's many years ago that we met the first time, but as I remember it was also like when you say pre-press, it's about setting up the advertising modules, the right places on the page, and basically have some kind of, let's say, the design of the pre-press side. Was that correct, that was part of it in the beginning, or do I remember wrong?
Partly, yes. You're partly right.
Partly, yes.
Today, you would be totally wrong. So we are not
Yeah,
concentrating on
that's why I'm asking,
the...
because I was just trying to figure out what
Yeah.
is it exactly. Because in a way, I think that if you should position yourself, are you like, if I say a company like in focus, is that something where you are in a competition, or is it a partner, or how would you put yourself? If I should put you in a box, which box should I put you in?
Yeah, exactly. I understand your question. So let's start with we always say we are a middleware. So that means you have an area where you get your job entry, your data entry. That is not what we cover. So there you have the web shops, you have, many people have still their Excel job ticket lists. And then you have these MIS systems that control the customer, do the quoting, the billing, all these kind of things. We are working very close together with these 2 points, but we effectively start after that. So from these systems, we normally get the job properties, so the job ticket with all the job properties. First thing we do is we do an analyze and get all the file properties out of that, formerly known as pre-flighting. And together with these properties, with all these properties, we basically start a rule-based production workflow automation. And this ends, we are handing over then the ready print file. So everything in post, everything what could be a pre-press task or whatever, or collection or batching task. I mean, batching is more and more important in the future. All these kind of things, spooling tasks, whatever you can think about, and then hand it over to different DFEs of printers, of embellishment machines, of finishing machines, whatever. And we now even integrate manual processes with our stations concept so that we have a full production tracking and control also what is in the production show floor.
So that super well explained, and that also gives me an idea, because when we talk about workflow automation, it's always about optimizing your production to be more profitable, to have errorless production and files, of course, but also to make sure that you get the right files on the right machines. Because I think that I spoke to some companies that have specialized in, let's say, streamlining the PDFs, because if you have many different sources of PDF, you can end up having something that is very cluttered and can be very CPU intensive on the DFEs. And I was just thinking, so basically, is OneVision could be seen as one solution that basically covers that entire process, right?
Exactly. So we are covering that process. So PDF is still our heart of our soul, heart of our soul. That's like a song in Germany. No, it's really, it's our heart. So that's the base of all the technology. And then we build a lot of things around. And I totally agree with you that, but I think in the last 5 years, it changed dramatically. 5 years ago, the pure intention for automation is reducing costs, having less errors, the print on demand, so the different files, and just the product of one, the individualization. The last 5 years, also due to the crisis we had, the amount of crisis we had. Point number one for automation today is lack of skilled workers. Point number two today for automation is that the cost for every resources, not only all the substrates and the inks, but also the labor costs, of course, the energy costs, they went ballistic. So one of the biggest problems that company owners have today is that they are using, and let's go a bit back to pre-press. If you talk about the whole automation, lack of skilled workers means you have to use wisely your skilled workers. But where do you use print skilled workers today? Where you need the experience, not in the lamination process or whatever, you're using them in the pre-press process. But which company gets paid today for this pre-press task? Nobody.
Yeah. That's a very good point, and also quite interesting, because I always use this example that if you look at let's say a 30-person printing company 30 years ago, 27 people would be in production and 3 people in the office, right? And today it's more or less different, but the calculation models are often the same. So it's basically based on the machine, and as you're right, that some processes are, let's say, I wouldn't say impossible, but difficult to value and to price correctly, but still a necessity in order to make sure that the entire process definitely works. Because, as you're right, you need to be sure that everything works in order to do the lamination or whatever you need to do, basically, right? And the way that one of the things that I would guess that also OneVision is focusing on is that when you need to have the right data out, you also need to get the right data in. So are you also connecting to IoT and using all these kind of, let's say, measurements that you can basically learn from the machines and all these kind of things that basically make your software even more, let's say, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's the basic. I talked about this integration. I call it the integration. OneVision is from the beginning, we are open source. We are based on an open source platform. Today, we have roundabout.
That's a little bit uncommon, isn't it?
It was the concept. We are. Everything is based what we have. I mean, of course, we keep it as a secret what we do, but everything, every software is based on open source. And nowadays, we have roundabout 100 digital partners we directly integrate because it's very easy to integrate the OneVision. And like I said before, with our new stations concept, we can even integrate something like Heidelberg Tegels or whatever. So we also can integrate the manual thing. We also tried it, I have to say, to put the whole process in the cloud. But I don't know if it's just the graphic industry, but if it's people that have an issue with data integrity and data security. Most of our customers, so we are offering cloud services, 95% of our customers want to have it on a local server installed and do all the jobs in-house.
Really? Quite interesting. How do you do that when you do the, let's say, the integration parts? Because I mean, you said yourself that you were like kind of a middleware, and I think that more and more people in especially in the pre-press area are looking for APIs for integrating services. So when you have on-premises software, can you still integrate with APIs?
Of course. I mean, we have preferably a REST API because then you talked about the bidirectional theme, so that we have the bidirectional communication. The thing is, it's a client server install. So the server can be the cloud, it can be virtual, it can be local, but the clients can be anywhere at any client, at any operating system in the world. So you operate really via the clients. And so there's no problem to be wherever you want and control the system.
You spoke about modules. Does that mean that when you buy OneVision solution, that you basically start with, let's say, a research process, understanding your needs and requirements, and then basically pick the modules that fits into your needs, or how does that work?
In general, precisely described. So the process normally starts that if we have an interesting company, we do an audit with them, a so-called workflow audit, where some of our solution consultants visit the company, spends 1 or 2 days. After that, they get a clear report about our findings and our recommendations, and also about the pricing. And if they agree to go further, then what we normally do, we build a proof of concept for either their most valuable product or the most critical product, install the whole software, what they need. So we choose the modules for them, what they need, and then they can test it. And after this test period, then they have to take the decision if they want to get, I always say, married or not.
So the testing is the engagement period, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, now I got you. yeah. The proposal we do after the workflow audit, and then we hopefully get married after the test period.
Perfect. Yeah. So of course that requires that both parties are very involved, but you also have an incentive, both of you, right? Because with the, let's say, the test period, you basically have a proof of concept where people can see that, okay, you can deliver, and you have, of course, an interest in delivering, and they have an interest in solving a problem. So I guess that is a two-way street that is convincing. So is it, I mean, at this stage, you probably quite often close the deals, right?
Yes. So our experience shows us that we roughly 87, 88% of all the tests we are closing afterwards is a deal. And one thing I want to add is it also gives us the ability to be very precise on the ROI calculation. Because, I mean, one of the trickiest things with software is if you buy a piece of hardware, you have something tangible. Software, you need to really prove or specify exactly the ROI that a customer is willing to spend this amount of money with your company. So having that test period, the audit, we get all the information. And with the things I said before, with the lack of skilled workers and all these things, it makes us easier today to calculate the ROI for the customer than 5 years ago. Because,
I take that you, of course, have quite a few customers, and maybe you can give me an example of a reason. Not, you don't have to mention names, but I was just thinking that the process from, let's say, having a test to a finished installation, thing like that. In your opinion, how is it with the customers? Do they see the ROI very instantly, or is it still like something where you have to dance a little around to figure out how you measure it? I mean, the reason I'm asking is just because everybody is looking for an ROI, but as you also mentioned in the beginning here, you said that if you have a very, let's say, delicate problem that you need to solve, you come from, let's say, expense A for solving it as you do now, and then you have a new expense by using OneVision. That is one incident, right? And then you can have several incidents where it makes sense to invest. And I was just wondering, is is it very clear to see the benefit of using OneVision in the short term, or is it more like in the long term perspective?
You can't say it in general because it's at one customer. I mean, we just had recently a customer, and believe it or not, we could give him a saving of 500,000 in the first year already. So it really also depends how the customer is organized today. Let's talk about an interesting market segment we are currently in. It's the wide format segment. Believe it or not, but only 1% of the wide format customers are totally automated. And something like 25% have some kind of automation. So still roughly 50 to 60% of all the customers in that market segment don't have anything of automation. So if you now pop into a customer that today has, let's take just not naming somebody, but the last guy we visited had, I think he had 4 people in pre-press doing all these things and correcting files in InDesign and Illustrator and whatever. Then he had another 4 people in the, let's call it, it's a nesting, but the positioning department. Basically, these were the high-paid people. And in the area where you also would need that people in terms of how do I have nice effects I can sell, like embossing or varnishing or whatever, he had nothing against the uneducated people, but he had people. I mean, I asked him, why do you have on your job ticket this big L? And he said, yeah, that means lamination. Yeah, but why don't you write lamination? He said, because nobody can read it here of these people I have employed. They understand what the L means. So what I want
So
to
basically, So basically, when you go into a company, and I think that you are actually, I spoke to a friend last week that came from the industry side, and now is a CEO of a label converter. And you know what he told me? He said that all of us from the industry, it should be by law that we have worked in a printing company or in a converter at least for some time, so we can see that the products we develop, with all the best intentions, are always not as, let's say, tailored to the visual. And that's basically what you say here, because the L is an example of, you can have people that are very good at laminating but not very good at readers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that is just like the thing that you realize when you talk to the customers, basically.
And the customers really, they teach you. We talked earlier about, in our pre-discussion, about the lessons you learn during your life. I think and that's exactly what you do. And I really think that's exactly the right way. Visit as many companies, as many production companies you can, because you learn every day something new from these guys. And that was
I can tell you that.
Sorry.
I can tell you that when people, because I'm being asked from time to time to give presentations at different locations in the world, and it's always fun because they ask me, "Can you give a state of the industry?" And say, "No, that's impossible for me because I only visit the best." Right? Because I mean, let's say that OneVision wanted us to do a testimonial from a customer. You would never send us to a customer that is unhappy or is not a good user of OneVision, so you would always send us to the ones that are good, right?
Of course.
And that is, I think it's a good learning. So basically, when I do make presentations, then I always say that, okay, let's make best practices instead, because now you get a wide input, because we have made 2,500 films now, right? So that basically means that the knowledge we have from learning, and I write that often also on LinkedIn, that I really feel privileged, because when I go and see many printing companies, for me it's a learning and education journey that is endless, basically, because it is so funny to see how people are utilizing both hardware and software, sometimes beyond the OEM's own expectations, to be honest, right? Sorry, that was a little anecdote, but I'm thinking it.
I totally agree.
Yeah, but I think it aligns with what you're saying, right? Basically, that when you go visit a company and you start identifying and making, let's say, the requirements for a solution, it is actually to understand not just the management needs, but also all the different stakeholders in a process, basically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I mean, just emphasizing on that again, you said, of course, you're always visiting the best, but the thing is that these companies have not always been the best, and they have
No,
taken
no, that's true.
evolution. And this is the interesting treasure of experience that you can dig out and learn of that, and that's marvelous. And also you find, just the last sentence, and also when you talk to these people, you find, and that's not the last statement, but that's one thing you always have to have. You have somebody in the company to believe in the change management they want to do now. And if that is not the case,
Well,
you fail.
100%. Stephan, I want to change subject a little bit because you and I had a little exchange on LinkedIn the other day because I didn't write about you when I was doing my drupa walkthroughs, and that is no. The reason why I'm saying this is not because basically, first of all, it's impossible to cover everybody, right? But the reason why I want to bring it up anyway is because one of the things that I always believe is difficult when I go to trade shows, even when we film, also from customer side, is that software is so invisible, right? It is so easy to make a beautiful film of an embellishment machine because the output is fantastic. So easy to show a big printing press because it is always a centerpiece in any printing company you come to. At drupa, you are, as OneVision, of course, exhibiting and want to make a, let's say, you want to sell, of course, but you also want to tell people about your products and services, so you can, let's say, position yourself for the future at least, right? And I was just wondering do you get my point that sometimes it's difficult to stand in a booth where you see a computer screen and then you basically get an
Totally
explanation
got your
of
point.
what you see?
Totally got your point. Yes, totally got your point.
How can we do it better? Because I have an interest in it because I truly believe that what you do and other software companies do is maybe the secret sauce for success for the companies that are, I wouldn't say struggling, because then they need to do something, of course, but the people that maybe have a profitable business but could be even more profitable by using software. So how do we get that message across, and how will you do it at drupa?
We decided this year, not 100%, but let's say 50% of our booth will be covered with, we are showing interesting end products. So a photo book.
Okay, so you focus on some of the end products
Yes,
that comes out of using your process.
exactly,
Basically.
exactly. So we have a photo book there, we have a beach flag there. And then we describe, because that's the stations concept, we describe really how at each step in the process, OneVision can help. OneVision can automate, OneVision can streamline. So that the customer really, with some nice video walls and really stationed, and then what is done in that station, what's the outcome of that station, what is going in the next station, so that he really understands, because I totally agree with you, it's hard for the people to understand that everything is controlled by software, but we see just a nice output.
Yeah, I remember I spoke to Toon that used to work for in Focus years ago. Now works with 4Ps, and I remember also he was also at the conference in Stockholm where you and I met. And basically, he said to me, "Everything in the future will have APIs," and I agree with him. And then think of this: then you have a computer somewhere. It can be in the cloud, it can be on premises. And the only thing that the pre-press guys see is basically the front ends of InDesign or whatever they work with, and all the APIs are in the background, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it is sometimes a challenge to really understand what goes on behind the scenes, so to speak, right? And I really like the idea that you have photo books and beach flags, because I think that it showing the output of the things and how things leads to it is something that is really nice. So people, and is it hall 7A?
8A. 8A.
8A.
8A, we are
8A,
just
yeah.
opposite of the Canon booth. So
That's true,
yeah,
yeah.
because Canon is currently our biggest partner as a manufacturer. So
Yeah.
we will have some stations at the Canon booth, but also at our booth.
Okay, and it's great that you mentioned that, because I was just about to say that when you talked about the case study with the L,
Yeah.
I was just about to say that some of the manufacturers of the let's say the wide format machines, they are not maybe so much into software. So that also gives you an opportunity to partner with people.
Definitely, yes, definitely is. Yeah, exactly. And I mentioned that already. No, the thing is that some of the manufacturers have their solutions, but these are very, I wouldn't say mono-branded, but they are very focused on, of course, I mean, a manufacturer of hardware is interested to sell his hardware. So the software is something that helps him to sell more hardware. So it's some of them have their own solution, but some of them have not anything. And the good thing with OneVision is that we are, with all our market companions, because we are not alone in that market, that we are independent and can integrate a very hybrid landscape. So that's the interesting thing with that.
Last question here, or maybe second last question, is to me it sounds like OneVision is kind of a one-stop shop where you can basically get almost everything that you need for software perspective. Does that mean that you reach out to all size of printing companies, or is it only the larger ones that you address?
No, we are reaching out to everybody because, like you said before, we have a modular system. So some of the customers or some of the companies, let's say, the large companies, of course, they have a need of having everything integrated and having everything automated. The smaller companies maybe just have a need for, some of them just have a need for nesting. Some of them have a need for dynamic impositioning. Some of them have a need for just having basic pre-press tasks like adding bleed, transparency, or even just have let me just give one sample. Now we had one of the latest customer bought our smallest package. The only problem was that he went from PCL to PDF, so to PostScript PDF output. He was a medicinal laboratory and had problems now moving from there with transparencies and CIT fonts. That was his only problem. But you think about a laboratory report where your blood is basically measured, you get the results back. You want to have it always, all of course, correct. So
I hope so. Yes,
so it was a very, very basic and easy sell, but there you see. So it really goes from the small package until the fully sophisticated for solutions for even the biggest printing companies or brokers in the world that have a different attitude and different demand.
Fantastic. Stephan, thank you very much for your time here on Inkish. I think it was wonderful to get a little insight in what you do, and great to see you again, by the way. And I'm sure that we will see each other at drupa, if not before. And I hope you will have a super nice day. And if you have anything you want to end this little session with, the word is yours.
It was a pleasure for me to talk and see you again. The same, likewise, Morten. And yeah, hope to see you in good shape and with a lot of energy on drupa.
Okay, then I have to say something again anyway, and that is just like, after all the pre-drupa thing we're doing and all the articles and all the film we're doing up to drupa, I don't know how fresh I will be at drupa, but I will do my best.
You're doing great so far, Morten. You're doing great so far.
Thank you. Bye, Stephan. Bye.